Why, hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for coming into the show, Coffee with Brodes, on this, well, not really beautiful Thursday morning, but on this Thursday morning. How is everyone? I'm excited to talk to you today for the next hour. We got the Sixers trade deadline. Look, maybe something happens as we are here hanging out. Maybe something pops up while we drink our coffee and have a little bit of a good time this morning. So, as we always do, let's start this off with a nice cheers to everyone who's out there drinking their coffee with me. And today we have a little different style of coffee. I've been going Wawa hazelnut, right? I've been going a little bit of that Pete's medium roast. Well, yesterday I made a nice run to Target, had to get a couple things. I'm like, let me just peek my head in the old coffee aisle. Let's see if there's something that tickles my fancy. I see 2 fat bags of Timmy Hortons. So what do? I go grab some Timmy Hortons. So right now, today, we are drinking a little bit of Timmy Hortons black coffee. So I'm super excited about it. Now, as saying that, cheers, everyone. Cheers. Take your sip of Joe with myself, please. I demand you. Oh. Now, this is how much you know that I am dedicated to Coffee with Brodes being my first cup of coffee. I woke up this morning at around 7 a.m., right? So about 2 hours ago, and I recorded a podcast, Open Ice Hits. I recorded the NHL podcast. So that by the time I got up around 7, we started around 7:45, recorded about 8:45. So I just got done. I didn't drink one lick of coffee I didn't have during that whole 2-hour process before right now, because I am dedicated to my first cup of coffee being with everybody in the chat. So that's tough for me to do, knowing how much I'm addicted to this. For me to be up for 2 hours, especially waking up at 7 in the morning and not having one sip of Joe, look, I'm dedicated to this lifestyle here, people. Cheers. Good morning, everyone, though. I see the chat flying through over here. Good morning to everyone who's hanging out. What's going on? So I thought that maybe there would be a little bit of something, a little bit of noise made to this point when it comes to the trade deadline. We saw DeLon Wright, right? Last night it was DeLon Wright that ended up going to the Sacramento Kings, and that was a strange one. So that opened up. It was the Pistons traded DeLon Wright to Sacramento for Corey Joseph and 2 second-round picks. That was kind of what started off the very, very limited, small amount of action last night. A friend wants Evan Fournier. Yeah, I've seen his name kind of floating around there with this whole Magic debacle. Everyone mentioned Aaron Gordon. And to me, Aaron Gordon does not push my needle, you know? Like, Aaron Gordon, to me, is not like that winning player that you need to go get. He's not that guy that, like, wow, now, where's the argument? When it comes to a player like Gordon, he can't be the guy. And in Orlando, he's the guy. You can't be the guy and that be Aaron Gordon. You're not going to do anything. If he's your third, fourth option, is Aaron Gordon totally different? Well, that's a different conversation, right? But still, I'm not an Aaron Gordon guy. Like, there's no way I'm going out of my way for Aaron Gordon. And I know he's added to his game. He's not just this athletic dunker, yada, yada, yada. I'm not an Aaron Gordon guy. I don't think this team is Aaron Gordon away. I want that veteran player with that chip on the shoulder that can really help this franchise take the next step with a legitimate leap. Aaron Gordon is just a younger player who's like growing. You're past that point of getting younger players growing. Maxey looks nice in a Raptors jersey. That's fine. I'd give up time. When you're in a championship caliber mode, which the Sixers are, you give up young prospects. You give up prospects to go get veteran players. That's fine. You can have Tyrese Maxey. We're not in that predicament right now. We're not in that mindset where we want to wait on a young player to kind of grow into his own, even though his ceiling's pretty high. I like Tyrese Maxey. I think he's going to be a stud. It's going to take him years to kind of find himself and to grow physically too. I think that's a big aspect of his game that needs to develop. He's going to put a lot of weight on it all, but I mean, come on. You got to give a little to get a little for sure. And if you're going to get a Kyle Lowry, it might take you a Tyrese Maxey, a Shake Milton, and that's a no-brainer for me. I'm not even debating it. It's an automatic. George Hill and another power forward. This is coming from Jesse, and that's something that I've been mentioning for a little bit of time now when it comes to these trades. To think about a George Hill and maybe one more. If that's the moves you go, is that enough? And I do think deep down, and I know the Sixers are in on Kyle Lowry, and I think that they are, and I think that there are some moves that they would be willing to make with this current roster. There's limited amount of moves that they would make to move on from a Danny Green or things of that nature, but there's something that tells me they like the dynamic of this team. They like what Danny Green is bringing. They like that element. Now, they're in on Kyle Lowry. There's no doubt about it. The Miami Heat, the Sixers, they're in on Kyle Lowry. So if that's the case, Danny Green is involved. There's no getting around it. It is the case. But something tells me they like the dynamic of this team. So I don't know. I don't know what that means other than my gut tells me they love what they have right now. Now, Mika says, no, don't trade Shake Milton. In what universe is Shake Milton a non-tradable guy? Is my question. I went through this yesterday. If you are a bench player, you are tradable. If you're a bench player, you're not in the category of untradeable. I've seen championship teams win with plenty of bench guys. Bench guys you can find every year. You get new bench players. You get new pieces. You add to your starting five. That's what you do. Bench players are never untradeable. Bench players are always a tradable asset. You never say, you know what I don't want? A starting caliber player like Kyle Lowry because Shake Milton. Come on. In what universe? I just can't get behind that at all. At all. He's the only ball handler off the bench. He's not even a good one. And that's where everyone forgets that. They get sucked into regular season ball. If you get Kyle Lowry, you have a ball handler that you can utilize in specific areas that you're going to really, really need. Kyle Lowry's a ball handler. Now, he's not going to be, quote, off your bench, but this is when I go back to staggering minutes. It's the playoffs. You're going to limit your bench. Your bench is barely going to be getting much time. It's going to be a lot of starting players. It's going to be a lot of minutes for the starters. And then you can find a way to stagger a Kyle Lowry when Ben Simmons is on the bench, and you have that filled. You have that void that you're worried about with Shake Milton, who's not even a good point guard. You have that now filled with Kyle Lowry. It's if you go down that road. If you do. Danny Green is questionable for tonight's game. I saw a couple guys were questionable in tonight's. It was not Steph Curry. Jesus. Seth Curry and Danny Green are questionable for tomorrow's game against the Lakers. That's what I saw yesterday from a bunch of the beat guys that cover the team. So take that for what it is. We got a $5 donation coming in from Jonathan Himes. The only untradeable players we have are Ben Embiid and maybe Tobias. I would almost rather see small trades and buyouts at this point fill the bench. I'm okay with that. Like, I can see all these options. I can see all of them. I'm cool with a lot of them, and I think you can find multiple different ways to help this team take that leap that you're looking for a playoff run. Oh, yeah, that sip of coffee. Jonathan, thank you so much for the $5, man. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, the thing with Tobias is funny because right now, by no means am I in trade Tobias mode. You'd be an idiot to be in trade Tobias mode. But let's take ourselves away from the current situation in the NBA trade deadline. Is there a situation where if you're Daryl Morey and you can move on from Tobias Harris and that contract, would you do it? I know right now of course I wouldn't do it. The guy's balling and he's playing legit. But you got to remember, this is the same guy that just 1 year ago, everyone wanted out of town. And some said they wanted to trade Tobias over Al Horford, keep Al Horford and move Tobias Harris's bad contract instead. That was a common theme around this fan base. That was a common statement around 76ers fans. So if there was a way to move on from that contract, and then that would allow you to maybe make a move and a splash on some future players available in free agency, would you do that? Now, look, it's a very, very layered hypothetical where you'd have to really dive into the free agency classes, what you would then maybe be able to sign. It's almost like, okay, would you rather have Tobias or X? And we'd have to do some research on what that X would be, what players would be available, what players you can go out and spend money on. Because, of course, if you were to trade Tobias, there'd be money and all that in play that you'd have to take back. But regardless, I mean, it's kind of a goofy hypothetical, but it's interesting to think of that side of things, because just 1 year ago, it's this guy's a dumpster fire, get him out of town. I can't stand him. I'd rather have Al Horford. And now all of a sudden he's labeled as an untouchable. But I do think that this organization values him as that right now, and it's hard to argue against him when he's playing the way that he's playing. So JJ Redick, if a buyout option, if you can get JJ Redick as a buyout option, what you're basically doing is you are insanely helping out that Furkan Korkmaz role. You know how I feel on the Furkan Korkmaz role. I'm out on it. I'm not a big fan of it. If you can get JJ Redick on a buyout option, I would absolutely be cool with that. He's not having the same type of statistical career. You're playing in New Orleans, and New Orleans is a team that stinks. They're not able to get anything going. JJ Redick, but you got to remember, if he does become a buyout option, you know who else might be in play? The Brooklyn Nets. Do you know where he lives? We talked about this his family lives in Brooklyn, and he traveled from Brooklyn to Philadelphia every day for practice when he lived here. I don't know his current situation, but yeah, I mean, that's going to play a role. Now, George here says JJ plays no defense. Yeah, but you need to look, bench players don't play that many minutes. You're only talking about a handful of minutes off the bench in the playoffs. You're not playing that many guys, and you're not going to your bench that much. You need the spacing. Sometimes if it's an elite shooter like JJ Redick has been in his career, you sacrifice the defense for the elite shooting. There's going to have to be a payoff. And with JJ, there's enough of a sample size to know this guy knows what it is in the playoffs. He's been in the playoffs every year of his career except for this recent stretch. He knows you. So sometimes there's a payoff involved that has to be in this conversation. And, Carl says, well, Furkan doesn't either. Yeah, you're right. And I trust JJ Redick more in playoff moments than I do JJ Redick. Now, my big thing on Furkan is he gets abused, and players lick their chops when they see Furkan Korkmaz defensively one-on-one. They get their switch, they pop, they get what they want, and then bang, they attack Furkan. They do the same with JJ. We've seen them do the same with JJ, specifically when Brett Brown was here and JJ was in your starting rotation, and you saw him get abused over and over and over again. So you got to find a way to limit that based off of personnel and what you can do. So yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. Yeah, JJ this year has been bad. Furkan is better than JJ. I mean, come on. We're talking about a guy who is statistically one of the better shooters we've seen in the game of basketball, and you're going to say Furkan Korkmaz is somehow more reliable in the postseason. Yeah, okay. Kyle Lowry is coming home. Possibly. I'm a little surprised on the speed of this trade deadline stuff for sure. How about that? Eric Lindros just tweet what? Out of all people that would tweet about Kyle Lowry coming home to Philadelphia, Eric Lindros might have been the last person on my list. Dear Sixers, you will not regret getting one of the best in Kyle Lowry. If he's going to leave Toronto, please let it be Philly. Absolute stud. Okay, I mean, I guess the ties do make sense. Toronto, Philadelphia, there is something in play there, but it is pretty fun. Like, what? Eric Lindros tweeting away this morning about Kyle Lowry? Pretty damn funny. Yeah, I mentioned this the other day, actually, in my post-game pod, Ghost. He says here, Brodes, have you noticed for a shooter, Furkan never hits his free throws? He shoots about 75%. And this isn't a knock on Korkmaz, the individual. It's a weird dynamic coming from a shooter. If you're a shooter, you should be able to make your free throws. It's the form, it's the production, it's the confidence. If you can make a nice 20-foot jumper, 25-foot jumper, a 70-foot jumper, some of these three-point specialists can do nowadays, you're telling me you can't make a free throw? He does lack in that area for sure. Daniel says, Furkan has clutch shots. And look, this is where the fact that this is where we are today, is it surprising? Maybe, maybe not. We've how many times have you seen Furkan make shots in regular season games? He's made them. There's no denying that over the last couple of years, there's been shots that Furkan has made. Stop getting sucked into regular season basketball, meaning playoff basketball. It doesn't mean the same thing. There's a reason why JJ Redick is a buyout option. If this organization was convinced Furkan Korkmaz was the guy, do you think that they'd be talking about upgrading shooting off the bench? There's a reason why they look at upgrading shooting off the bench. There's a reason why they're looking for a ball handler off the bench as well. There's a reason why where they're trying to upgrade Shake Milton's role because they're not good enough. They know that. A guy like Daryl Morey understands. I got to upgrade. There's a reason why they have to upgrade because they're not good enough. They're not good enough. A $2 donation coming in from Chris Sheehan. Powell is young and good. To sum up, better than Furk. Yes, absolutely. He's better than Furkan Korkmaz. Thank you so much, Chris, for the $2 donation. Yeah, I mean, if you get Powell, that's a huge upgrade for this team. Statistically, we looked this up a little bit yesterday, what he was providing from 3-point range and how he was shooting. He's averaging 20 points per game, essentially, 19.6. He is shooting a whopping, where is his 3-point shoot? 44% from 3. So he is providing a nice spark for your team. Yes, Powell would be an upgrade for this basketball squad, and it is something that can be very useful. Now, I'm doing a little multitasking here. I'm uploading my my NHL pod that we recorded this morning. So doing a little bit of multitasking, a little coffee with Brodes, a little hanging out with the chat, doing a little behind the scenes. Just finished exporting the show. Now I'm getting the next part done. Nonstop, I'll tell you. Nonstop. We got a $5 donation coming in from All Clutch TV. Man, Furk is trash. He pulled a playoff P and hit the side of the backboard a couple games ago. Yeah, he ended up he airballs everything. The fact that you're an NBA 3-point shooter and he airballs the amount that he airballs, it's crazy. He had 2 airballs, and then the other night he ended up hitting the side of the backboard. Yeah, it's crazy to think about what's going on with Furkan, but people love him. People get sucked into him, and I just think I know what he is. Look, there's a role for regular season players. There's guys that need to eat up minutes in the regular season. They need to play regular season minutes. You go to the end of the bench. Like, there's a role for that. Not everyone has to be a LeBron James, a Joel Embiid, a Ben Simmons, a Tobias. Everyone has their role. Furkan's role is in the NBA. He is a regular season player. Here's where I have the problem. Last year, with Brett and all, you didn't have many options with shooting, so he was your 6th man coming off the bench to help with spacing. And now he's your shooter off the bench to help with spacing. You're using him in a role that you're going to have to actually legitimately need to use. Like, that's a powerful role where he's in right now. You would love to have a JJ Redick there. Where he's playing is too much for his role and what he can be, what he should be in the NBA. That's where I have the problem. We got a $5 donation coming in from Lone Trout. Always look forward to your post-game reactions. Thanks from a Philly boy stuck in Missouri. Wow. Now, just not to get too personal, but how long did you live in Philly? Did you live in Philly for X amount of years, then have to move down to Missouri? You know, you don't have to tell me why you had to move down there and all, but I'm more curious on how long you were in Philly before the Missouri move actually went down. But thank you so much, Lone Trout, for the $5 donation. I really do appreciate it. I've never been to Missouri. I'm sure that is as Carson Wentz would say, a little bit of a culture difference there, huh? Because we saw what went down on that Pat McAfee show, which is pretty damn funny to me that people reacted the way that they did with that quote. It's a little, like, ridiculous. He said he loved Philly. Like, oh, ding, ding, ding. Hey, no shit, pretty much. No shit. Oh, you know what? You're telling me that Philadelphia is a little bit different than North Dakota? It's a little bit different than Indianapolis? Call me shocked. Call me stunned. No shit. I mean, come on, people. I don't understand why people reacted the way that they did. It's a little crazy. Thank you once again for the $5. Lone Trout, I really do appreciate all of the support for sure. Flyers, Rangers tonight. Can't wait. Yeah, dude. Oh, my God. Flyers. I forgot they even played. No, I didn't. I know tonight's going to be a long night. You got the 7 o'clocker Flyers. You got the 10 o'clocker Flyers, or 10 o'clocker Sixers. So it's going to be a long night of recording. I think last time this happened, I was up till to getting the show done, it was about 3:30, 4 in the morning. And then I started watching Jersey Shore until 5 o'clock. Oh, shocker. I'm on season 4. They're in Italy. Mike's about to run his head through a wall. The situation and Ronnie are going to get into a nice fight. Always love that show. My 3-year-old little cousin is better than Mike Scott. Yeah, Mike Scott's had a really interesting little run here for the last couple of years. It's unfortunate because he could have been a nice player for you in that 4th spot, in that power forward role and all, but unfortunately, he hasn't really been able to solidify that, and that's a bit of an issue. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. It would have been nice, but now you need to go out and maybe grab some help. Or I keep throwing this out there. While we know they had interest in PJ Tucker, while we know they had interest with other guys, are you sitting in a spot where they just look at Ben Simmons as that power forward? Where if you, like, this is the thing. If you make a move for Kyle Lowry, is that technically making a move at power forward? Well, what do I mean by that? You can apply Kyle Lowry as the primary ball handler at times when Tobias Harris needs to go to the bench, and you can slide Ben Simmons at 4. Getting the ball handler, does that now allow Ben Simmons to do other things where you essentially got your backup 4 because you got a primary ball handler in Kyle Lowry that can be a starter and can help run the offense? Did you kill 2 birds with 1 stone, sort of? Is that kind of what you did? Oh, Keith Inman comes in. Sorry I'm late, Brodes. I was doing a little Peloton workout. Now I'm now I'm sipping a double cappuccino. And you? I did not go for the Peloton this morning, Keith. But right now I'm going with a little Timmy Hortons. I got my Timmy Ho-Hos in the mix right now. Little Timmy Hortons with just black, with nothing. Just black good old Timmy Ho-Hos. Been a while since I had Timmy Hortons. I was in Target yesterday doing a little bit of shopping. Love my shopping at Target. I'm like, hold on, there's a coffee aisle right here. Oh, yeah, I'll go look to see what's there. And I saw 2 fat bags of Timmy Hortons. I got to grab both. I took both. I ran to the register so no one kicked my ass and beat me down and stole them. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? By the way, I don't know if anyone saw this, but yesterday I got tagged in this tweet that was going viral maybe 8,000 times for all the people that talked to me about me playing hoops and all that. So yesterday I got tagged in this tweet. I'm looking for it exactly. So it was someone from Barstool that tweeted this out. I love playing pickup basketball with hockey players. Absolute grinders. Just ripping offensive boards and missing layups while wearing a backwards hat. The amount of times that I got tagged in that tweet yesterday puts a huge smile on my face. There's nothing more than I want to be in pickup basketball than the guy that grabs boards, grinds, takes charges too. That wasn't thrown in the tweet. But missing layups with the backwards hat. Although, me, I'll go a little headband. I'll throw a little bandana in there and all. But, man, perfect tweet to describe my life on the basketball floor. Did someone say that they were from Victoria? You're from Victoria. Wow. What time is it in Victoria? Yeah, I'm a Raptors fan. Do you think you have anything to offer for Lowry? Yeah, I mean, once you max the contracts, which is a part of this, right? So don't overreact, but there's got to be a match involved. So Danny Green's expiring contract, which means nothing because they're going to be off the books. It's just a salary match type of concept here with Danny Green and some of these players that you got to move over just to match contracts. Then it gets into the 3 young studs that it depends on if the Raptors are interested. The 3 young studs, it's Shake Milton and young studs. Maybe that's a little strong for some of them, but Shake Milton, Matisse Thybulle, and Tyrese Maxey. It comes down to if that is something that the organization values. If you are the Toronto Raptors, are those the pieces that you would like to have? Does Miami have more to offer? How many first-round picks would you like to throw in there? How many picks are in play as well? Like there's a lot here, right? Trade Tobias for Zach LaVine. That is the last thing I thought I would see today. Trade Tobias for Zach LaVine. Now, I know we hypothetically, jokingly brought up a Tobias trade just for kind of like a insanely horrendous hypothetical that we were all aware about. But in what universe? This has to be a troll, right? What has Zach LaVine showed you where it's, you know what, we got to have Zach LaVine? If Zach LaVine was in place for Tobias Harris, you're not in the same spot. Why is Tobias Harris so big for this team? Well, it's pretty simple. He's grown into, like, here we go again. And I know that people don't like this because they think it's just the coach, just the coach, just the coach, just the coach. And there's something to be said about Doc Rivers and Tobias Harris and this relationship that they have. Tobias Harris is how old? Tobias Harris is how old? Oh, 28 years old. Tobias Harris is now what? Oh, closing out games. Tobias Harris is also doing what? Oh, becoming a more professional, mature player in this league that's understanding the IQ and being smarter. Oh, so you're telling me there's something about being 28 and being more mature and just having so much more experience and taking all the information, applying that to his skill set and becoming a better version of himself at the age of 28. Oh, so it's almost like maturity as an NBA player matters the most over anything else in this damn league. Tobias Harris is now that closer for you with Joel Embiid. Zach LaVine, I'm not going to trust Zach LaVine to be that guy in playoff series where he's going to be able to just come in and first, I would never do that trade to begin with. I'm just not doing that trade. But he's 26. He's not at that point yet. He's not that type of player. He might be. He might be at 28, 29, 30. Zach LaVine might be. He's not that now. For anyone to say, let's trade Tobias Harris for Zach LaVine right now is asinine. But yeah, I mean, it's not crazy to me that now you're seeing Tobias Harris take that leap as a player when you're in that age bracket that I've been screaming you got to wait for Ben and Joel to get into, and Joel is now. Now, there's a difference between LaVine 26 and Embiid 26. Embiid's MVP level. Zach LaVine's just a nice player growing. There's a difference. Less than 6 hours. We'll move on from that topic, by the way. I think it's a little asinine. Would you keep Tony Bradley as a more offensive center or cash in the trade value now? I mean, is there much trade value for Tony Bradley and all? I don't know. I mean, if you're this is what it goes back to. It depends on what player you're getting. There's no way in hell a bench player like Tony Bradley stops you from getting a nice player that's going to help you legitimately. There's this fascination and obsession with role players in the NBA. I don't even know if Tony Bradley's going to be getting 1 second of minutes. He's not getting minutes. Like when we talk about serious playoff basketball, Tony Bradley's not getting any minutes. So long-term, it's not about that. You don't hold on for Tony Bradley because of a piece that can really help you out. You know, like it's crazy that people get so tied to, well, Tony Bradley and Matisse Thybulle and Jake Milton. And like, we can't trade these guys. Fuck yes, you can. Fuck yes, you can trade these guys. You trade bench player. Like, we're stuck in this, well, what about the future? And what about that? Like, no, now it's not about that anymore. There's times where it is about that as an organization. It's about rebuilding. It's about retooling. It's about getting these young players. It's about growing and grooming. And while there is still growing that needs to happen with Joel and Ben Simmons, that's clear, and there's no denying that. And Tobias still needs to improve as well. There is this growing period that we are with right now with these players. With that being said, you're also still we are now in legit win now mode. So you move on from players in win now mode. The biggest ballsy move the Toronto Raptors made was what? Move on from DeMar DeRozan, get that 1-year rental with Kawhi Leonard and see what happens. They won a championship. You got to be ballsy at times. When it's time, when the time is right, you got to be ballsy and live with the circumstances. If you don't win, but you know you went for it and you made an opportunity at a realistic time, that's all you can ask for. You just got to ask, are the expectations legit? Are you seriously, legitimately contending? And if that is the case, if you don't win, then fine. I can live with this. All right. If Daryl Morey is aggressive and he applies great logic to a team that's built in this very unique way that's at the top of the Eastern Conference right now, and he swings and misses, I will live with swinging and missing over not swinging at all. I'm not striking out looking, is my point. I'm not striking out looking. I will swing and miss if I'm a GM, if I'm Daryl Morey. You got to be aggressive. And now you do it. All right. If you continue to spam Keep Korkmaz, you will no longer have access to be commenting in the chat, unfortunately. So you can choose to continue to spam things, but we do have the access to stop the spamming rather quickly. Just saying. When will the Flyers stop sucking? Never. Oh, that's such a disappointing sentence to say. Yeah, the deadline is coming down to the wire in about 6 hours or so. And, it's one of those things where the trade deadline's over, ding, 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 and then all the trades come in. So you're going to be seeing that happen throughout that. So, 3 p.m. on March 25th. So you are going to be seeing around 3 o'clock, 3:05, 3:10, 3:50, all these trades. But we did see some rumors that it was going to take to the end because there's so many teams involved with some of these players at the top of the trade rumors. So when that happens, there's going to be a lot of back and forth, pull and tug, calling the phone. Hey, this team's offering this. Do you want to counter that? Do you want to match it? Do you want to throw in another prospect? Do you want a prospect as if this is baseball? Do you want to throw in another young player? Do you want to throw in a draft pick? Right? So you're just calling around. If there's a lot of people calling, it's going to take a bit of time to make sure, hey, I got it, right? I got the best offer that I can possibly get. If you're GM, you're taking this down to the wire if you're the Raptors. They are waiting for Lowry, Powell, and Gordon trades. Right. And first, too, if someone you want to see the market. What is the market? What's it going to be? You're trying to establish what that is. And from there, you can kind of assess what's next. Once you see what one person's going for, you can apply that to a possible trade down the road. What did we see? I saw the Pacers were listing offers for Brogdon. I was wondering what your thoughts on for that. I just don't know if I've seen anything with the Sixers related to Brogdon. So I would really hate to just start talking about. I don't see if there's been any ties. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen any ties to Malcolm Brogdon. I mean, obviously Malcolm Brogdon's a hell of a player who averages 21 points per game. He gives you around 40% from three. He's very versatile. He can give you a lot. He's 6'5". He's got good size. Plays a little, he's a good guard, little good combo guard, so he can give you a little both. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen enough ties to him for me to have this opinion on a Malcolm Brogdon, because I just don't think that it's going to be a reality of the situation. But with that being said, there is a bit of me inside that feels it's possible, and maybe I'm wrong, because at this point I do think that it's Kyle Lowry or it's more minor. But is it possible that Daryl Morey pulls a move where it's out of the blue? No one saw it coming. No one thought of this person, and he just pulls a rabbit out of the hat, and this is who you get. It's some stud where no one really thought about it. No one discussed it. No one talked about it. And Daryl Morey made it all happen behind closed doors. Is that possible? Sure, I think it is possible, but I think they like this team. I think they genuinely, truly like this team. They like what Danny Green brings. There's this veteran presence. There's this locker room vibe that if you just move on from Danny Green and screw that up, is that going to affect some chemistry issues and all? I truly think they love this team. So maybe it's more of a little addition here and there. You pick up a player that can help out like a George Hill and one other. So then you get two nice bench pieces that you can rely on in very limited minutes off the bench, 10 minutes, primary ball handler, George Hill, do your thing. All right, now you're back on the bench. And then you go out and get a power forward. Will that help? I mean, it's just something where you grab a little help here and there and just pluck in more so than a big splash and moving a Danny Green. I think they really, really embrace Danny Green all around the floor, and he's playing great basketball. You're seeing what happens when there's great basketball being played out of Danny Green and how much that changes the dynamic of this team. We love the team too. Yeah, you're right. Look, it's a very fun team. For as bad as the Flyers are right now, and for as bad as last season was with the Sixers and how not entertaining it was, this year's great, man. This year's just fun, entertaining basketball. I'll tell you what does suck, though, when it comes to where you are. And this is just standard NBA stuff. You went from process to Joel Embiid with that 28-win year. And it's fun because you go from disaster, I can't watch this team, to, hey, we have Joel Embiid. And this is very entertaining. And this guy can dominate on every single night. But you knew there was going to be a learning curve. And then you get Ben Simmons into the mix. And it goes from, all right, you suck, you blow, you're losing on purpose, to, hey, there's some excitement. Hey, I want to watch. The emotional 82-game journey the first year of Ben and Joel was awesome. It was incredible. Now, though, because once you get to the level of NBA title, NBA championship, once you get into that discussion, the journey of the NBA regular season is so devalued, and it's not about watching every night, oh, I want to see Ben and Joel grow, and I really want to see them be this dynamic group of two players that are so fun every single night. You lose that juice, and now it's like, hey, what can you do against the Nets in a 7-game series in the Eastern Conference Finals? What can you apply from a game, or what can you take away from a game on Tuesday against the Charlotte Hornets that relates to the Brooklyn Nets in 7? like the emotional ride of the 82 games. You lose that once you become an NBA title team, which is the ultimate goal, is becoming that NBA title team. But the power and the ride isn't there as much because you're just thinking, okay, what can this team do? Can they get above the Lakers? Can they get above the Utah Jazz? Can they get above the Brooklyn Nets? Now it's always big picture NBA title once you're in that category. So it just devalues the 82 games. While they're a fun team, I don't think the fun team is as fun as a team that is maybe in a different area, which is crazy to say, but I do think expectations of championship is what makes the Tuesday nights in February's and all that just a different way of watching, if that makes sense. Random Gamer says, currently constructed, I don't see us beating the Nets in a 7-game series. We don't have enough to keep up with their scoring. Yeah, but you're right. But you're never going to, there's no one that's going to walk in and say, I'm going to beat the Nets by outscoring them. And obviously the way you beat a team is by outscoring them. But you understand my point, a shootout. You're not going to have a shootout and beat them. That's like saying, you know how you're going to beat the Warriors? You're going to have a shootout and beat them. No, you're not. No, you're not going to beat the Warriors of a couple years ago by outshooting them. The reason why I think you do have a chance to beat the Brooklyn Nets in 7 is because you have the defense to keep up with their intensity. If there's any team that could defend the Nets, which is tough, and great offense beats great defense in the NBA, but it is their defense. If there's the way that they are constructed might be the best chance to beat the Brooklyn Nets because their defense. You have to counter their fantastic offense with your lethal D. You can't counter their offensive production with offensive production. You won't win that way. You have to dial into the defensive mindset. So currently constructed Random Gamer, the way you bring that up, I think the quite opposite. If anything, the way that they're currently constructed would allow them to hang into a 7-game series because of their defense. I wouldn't trade for J.J. Redick. I would pick up J.J. Redick if there was a buyout involved. People act like you got to score 120 a night to beat the Nets. Look, here's another part too. Let's be realistic. When you talk about playoff basketball, I want to see if I can, like 2019-20 NBA. Let's go to NBA postseason results. I'm just looking at points per game wise. I'm just looking at, you got to remember the bubble. Like last year is such a flawed way because the season was put on pause. There were no fans. Like it was such a weird dynamic. But if you go back to the NBA playoffs of a year where it was normal, and now they're more accustomed to it. But I do think it's interesting that 104 to 101, 101 to 96, 104 to 99. Now, this one was 135 to 131. That's a little explosive. 99 to 91, 98 to 93, 104 to 96, 112 to 108, 104 to 101, 111 to 98, 107 to 91. My point is, these are all scores of games that happen in playoff basketball throughout all of the series. And that's just early on. That was round 1. So that means there's still some bad teams involved. But my point is, what you see now and what you're seeing with these points per game, it's irrelevant because the game slows down so much more. You don't need to score that much. You're not going to score 150 in these playoff games. The possessions are significantly less because the games are slowed down. Each possession is intensified and it's magnified, and you got to get the telescope out. Maybe the telescope's a bad word. The binoculars out. Maybe that's a bad word too. The magnifying glass involved on what's going to happen. And you don't have the ability to score as many points because the defense is intensified. Everything's intensified. So, this whole thing of like, yes, the Brooklyn Nets are still going to score an obnoxious amount of points for the playoff version of scoring points. But things are different. And every year, people get sucked into what they see in 82, and they think that's what you see in these series. And it's not. It's just not. Right. You're not going to be putting up as many points as you do in a regular season games as a playoff series. Yeah, who knows what's going on with Kevin Durant? Like, do we know anything what's going on with this big three and what they're actually going to be long term? You know what I mean? It's Kyle Lowry's birthday. Is that true? I don't know if it is or not, to be honest. Find out. Some people say some crazy things in the chat. Yeah, I guess it is. John Clark tweeted 32 minutes ago. Kyle Lowry was born in North Philly on this day 35 years ago. Could he be coming home today on his birthday? Sixers, Heat, Lakers are reportedly the candidates. Very possible. Mike Scott, Terrence Ferguson's salary would cover Lonzo Ball's salary. Curry could come off the bench and would be able to keep Danny Green. I don't think you would, Pags, I don't think you would put Seth Curry on the bench for Lonzo Ball. I don't think that's necessarily, first off, that's you're putting a primary ball handler out there. That's not exactly what Seth Curry does. Could Lonzo Ball be a combo guard? I look at him more if I was to bring him in as a ball handler that could take over Shake Milton's role, if anything. So, I think it's very telling that this organization, when everyone is healthy, who's their starting five? It hasn't changed. When everyone is healthy and available, who is their starting five? It's been Ben, Danny, Seth, Tobias, and Joel Embiid for a reason. They like that. They enjoy that. They want it to be that way. I don't think Lonzo Ball comes in and he becomes your starting player. The only person I can see that at this point would be a Kyle Lowry. I think Kyle Lowry would be the guy that comes in and becomes a serious starter for you. But and I've been through this with with Lonzo Ball before. My fear with Lonzo Ball, and I think he's a good player and he's definitely providing a lot for you and he's improving for sure, is this. I think he is a player that you need to watch grow. Oh, well, we need to see him take steps. He needs to take strides. He needs to experience playoff runs. He averages 14 points per game. He gives you a steal a game. He gives you 38% from three, which everyone knocked his shooting when he first came in the league, 30. Second year, 33. Jumped up to 37, and now he's close to 39. So that has been an improvement from the three-point shooting aspect, and he is taking less. He's taking less. That's two-pointers. He's taking more, by far, more three-pointers per game. He's almost taking 8 three-point attempts per game, which is definitely significantly more from the 5 that he came into the league with. It's about, I think you need to let him grow. And you're not in the point of letting him grow. That defeats the purpose of what you're trying to do. You're trying to establish yourself as a team that's ready to go win. Is Lonzo Ball going to be the guy that you can rely on to go make plays for you and all? I want a veteran player. I want someone I can rely on that's been in deep playoff runs. $2 donation. Just beat Durant and he'll sign here, right? I guess that's possible. Jonathan with another $2. Yeah, I guess that's kind of the way to do it. So Shams, by the way, just tweeted out the Sixers, Heat, and Lakers are in, quote, serious talks for Kyle Lowry. Now, that's not breaking news by any stretch of the imagination, but as things are getting closer here to the trade deadline, I guess this is what you're going to hear. It's sort of like the other day. What did we hear? We heard that it was a Zach Ertz thing. It might have been Ian Rappaport. It might have been Mike Garafolo. I don't know who it was. I apologize if it was neither of them, but the tweet was something along the lines of, the Eagles are going to make Zach Ertz available, and they're going to allow Zach Ertz to kind of communicate with where he wants to go. Okay. We knew that for months. We knew that since the beginning of last season. Right now, don't we know that the Sixers, Heat, and Lakers are in serious talks for Kyle Lowry? This is almost a no story. There's a lot of times where people give you no stories. Alonzo's IQ is as high as any player on the Sixers. I'd be comfortable with him, honestly. I'm not saying he wouldn't help. He would absolutely help. Lonzo Ball would absolutely help this basketball team. If I'm saying it in a way that makes it seem like that's not the case, well, then I apologize. He will improve this basketball team. My thing is, would I rather have an experienced player that has been involved in an Eastern Conference final, been involved with as a serious veteran that you can rely on? I don't know if I can rely on Lonzo Ball in certain playoff moments. I feel more comfortable with George Hill. I feel more comfortable with other guys. And I know that sounds a little crazy. Wow, Lonzo Ball, George Hill. You're telling me this old guy, this old guy who plays basketball like an old man, that's the guy that you'd rather have. But that's kind of what you need. You need the grown man part of this that is very important to winning a championship. Kyle Lowry would make the Sixers better than the Nets, in my opinion. I always go back to this. The Sixers can compete with anyone. Competing with anyone doesn't mean that they're definitely going to win a 7-game series against them. They have a roster, and especially if they add Kyle Lowry, that can hang with the best, that can hang with whoever else is at the top of the NBA. Does that necessarily mean they're going to come out victorious? No, not necessarily. They could lose in 6. They could lose in 7. There's still other very solid teams out there. But the Sixers are constructed to be a part of that top tier. They can hang with the top tier. Absolutely. I don't know if they're going to win. Oh, I know. Every year, look, there's teams at the top where they're all in the same category. There's a category of teams that have a serious shot at winning a title. And from there, one of those teams rises to the top. Will it be the Sixers? It possibly can be. It might be. There's a solid chance that it will happen. But there's other teams, too, that are in play. But they are in the mix. They are legitimately in the mix. And that's why there's a difference between being fooled and hanging in there and then being an actual team. And that's why you're at that point now where if you got to get rid of some bench guys, now's the time. There's times to be aggressive. This is the time to be aggressive. And it's hard because it's rare to be. You're not in this spot very often, but that's also why you have to do it, right? Like you're not in this spot very often. So you got to pick and choose the moments to do it. It's uncomfortable because you got to part ways with players that you think could be a part of this organization, like Matisse Thybulle, like Tyrese Maxey. It's not a great feeling. It's unsettling because you know their ceilings, but it's not so much about 5 years down the road of Tyrese Maxey. It's about winning a championship now with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and maximizing Joel Embiid's prime. He's had injuries. We know that. We're experiencing it now. How long is he going to be able to keep this up? Is he going to be able to play at this rate forever? The answer is no, sadly. So you're going to have limited times to do this. When you have those times, you got to do it now. So this is Danny Palmels of NBC Sports Philadelphia. And he just tweeted this out moments ago. And I lost it because my Twitter feed refreshed. Okay, here we go. Just a guess. So he's just guessing here. But I don't think the Sixers make a big move before the trade deadline, but a few smaller moves to fortify the lineup. What do you think will happen? So he's kind of like leaving it out to the public, but it's kind of going back to how I started the show. I do think deep down they love what they have. They love the dynamic of Danny Green on this team. They think that he is so important to the success of where they have been to this point, and they feel possibly, I'm not saying it's 100%, but getting rid of him could really change the vibe and the flow and the culture and everything involved. Not that bringing in Kyle Lowry would ruin the culture, because it definitely wouldn't. He brings a different layer of veteran leadership, of championship caliber player. He still brings that. He brings that energy. He brings that edge. He plays with that defensive motor that is the identity of this basketball team. So if you swap the two, by no means do I think that this team is going to fall off, but there is this important value of Danny Green being such a key part of this team growing as a young core, and these stars taking this legit jump this season, and Danny Green playing a role in that. And now you're just going to strip those players of that key important voice while they head into the back stretch. I don't know if they necessarily want to do that. Now, at the end of the day, it's a business. And if the business is, hey, we are going to be a better team, you make that decision. That's something you got to do. I think they like where they're at, though. Do I want Lowry? Yeah, I do. I do want Kyle Lowry. I do. But, I see both sides, honestly. I know that's not a good answer. No one likes that. You either want one side or the other, but I see both sides. I want Kyle Lowry, but I think he's going to end up in Miami. There are these reports that there is this thought that he's going to end up in Miami. So maybe there's two ways to think about that, though. Miami would be more willing to give stuff up because they know that he's going to want to be in Miami longer term too. Or knowing that Kyle Lowry wants to be in Miami, they'll take the opportunity to maybe take a seat back and say, look, he's coming to us in free agency anyway. If he's going to come to us in free agency anyway, well, then now we're talking. Kyle Lowry's too expensive? What do you mean by that? you're going to have to give up a lot of expiring contracts, but you're losing them anyway at the end of the year. And majority of them don't play except for Danny Green. So really it would be Danny Green. Look, there'll probably be a third team involved maybe, but I don't think it's too expensive by any means. Money on my mind. Well, apparently money is on your mind because you're thinking that he's too expensive to make that move. Pretty ironic that that's the case. APAC says, hey, Brodes, my parents' stimulus check has been sent to the bank account. Time to buy a Phillies hat for opening day. I love that. Yeah, I got my stimulus check yesterday, so I went to Lululemon. Once I went to Lululemon, I actually bought two. So I've been rocking my I told you I went to Target to get my Timmy Hortons coffee. I've been rocking the Beats headset for a while now, but I've had the Beats Solos, so not the Studios. Yesterday, I went out and I bought the Beats Studios as my new headset, so I'm pretty stoked about it. Sometimes I rock the Apple earphones. Sometimes I rock my old Beats Solos, but I went out and made a splurge with the stimulus check to pick up the new Beats Solo. So, I mean, they're the threes. I mean, it's not like they're like brand spanking new version, but I love the Studios, man. And I love the gold in there. I think it's just crisp. It's clean. It's smooth. So I'm pretty excited about these for sure. So the stimulus definitely helped out the upgrades for sure. And there's more coming. Yeah, I'm ready to start buying clothes, go shopping. Dude, I love going shopping. I can go shop into outlet stores nonstop, walk in through all the stores. Some guys don't like shopping. I can go shopping every day. Every day I can go clothes shopping, shoe shopping. I love it. I'm obsessed with going shopping. Unfortunately, I need to stop myself from doing it because I'll keep swiping the old credit card too much. But you get rewarded with points, right? I mean, the more I spend, the more I make. Isn't that how it works? Bose makes good headphones too. Yep. I've had Bose in the past. I know Bose definitely work very well, but I'm a Beatsman. I enjoy the good old Beats. So yeah, I'm very excited about those. Wow, Metal Douche, Mike. It's interesting you bring this up because today, what we talked about on Open Ice Hits is we talked about the referee that got in trouble. But our entire topic today outside of the referee for the NHL podcast that I do that will drop shortly, it's processing as we speak. We went through all of the awards at the mid-level point. So we talked about the Vezina. We talked about the MVP. We talked about the Rookie of the Year. We talked about the Norris Trophy. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts, I'll tease it there and say when Open Ice Hits uploads pretty soon, you will have to check it out, right? You have to check it out. 8 minutes left. Give me your bold predictions for the deadline. This is coming in from Fran. All right, with 8 minutes left of the show, I don't know if this is bold, but I'll give you what I genuinely think is going to happen. I think you see something of two smaller pieces, whether it's, and I don't know what for it would be, because I would initially say PJ Tucker, but we know that's not the case. But I think it'll be something along the lines of George Hill plus. So I think it'll be a George Hill plus another veteran player that, just has a lot of experience under his belt. And that's what you pick up. You pick up two guys like that where you add to your bench. You maybe slide Furkan out. You slide Shake Milton down a little bit. You get a guy in there that you can rely on you can trust him to make the proper passes, trust him to run the offense the right way. I think it's going to be along the lines of George Hill and something. That's kind of I don't think that's bold, but I think that's more of what you're going to get in that regard. So I think that's kind of where I'm at as I sit here today at 9:53 before the 3:00 deadline. That's kind of where I'm at. And I just want to thank everybody for the day today. We got 300 people in here for majority of the show. So as I say that, I just got tagged again in that tweet that says, I love playing pickup basketball with hockey players. Absolute grinders, just ripping offensive boards and missing layups while wearing a backwards hat. I mentioned that earlier in the show. I got tagged in that 10,000 times last night. Looks like I just got added to that again, and that puts a smile on my face. It really does, because it is the truth. But yeah, we had about 300 people in here today throughout the majority of the show, which is incredible. I appreciate everyone who was in here and hanging out. Must process says George Hill sucks. I'll pass. Well, look, I think you're just looking at it the wrong way and way too emotionally just saying that. You have a team that is now the second best in the NBA outside of the Utah Jazz. They have over 30 wins. There's only 2 teams that have that. You might not need that. Look, Kyle Lowry would help. You're losing to get some, so you're taking 2 steps back to take 3 steps back, so you're taking 1 step forward maybe. Getting George Hill, like you're talking about solidifying this bench and making this bench better. George Hill makes that bench better. You like Shake Milton? Stop. Very inefficient player. You need a primary ball handler that you can rely on to make a proper, simple pass for 10 minutes. That's George Hill. So that's just a reactionary. That's someone who's looking for the Sixers to make the problem with that type of comment is that's the person that wants LeBron to get traded to the Sixers like this trade deadline. If the Sixers don't go out and get LeBron James, this trade deadline is a failure. You got to be realistic with what's going on here. Don't end. 1 more hour, trade deadline special. I wish I could. I have some meetings. I'm swamped today. I got a meeting at 10:30. I got a meeting at 1. I got a meeting at 3. I got some meetings spread out throughout the day. I got to get some recording stuff done. I got a long day at the office. And then you got the 7 o'clock Flyers. You got the 10 o'clock Sixers. I got recording all throughout the night there. So I'm going to need a cat nap. There's going to have to be a cat nap involved, maybe around 5 o'clock, sleep until 6, maybe a little 1 hour, little how do you do? And, so imagine saying that. Imagine saying what? Must process. Imagine saying what? That your expectations are a little too high for like to say George Hill sucks. I just don't think you're looking at this logically. You're not looking at this objectively on what this team needs and what this team is going to kind of need help on. Like, this is where you're at. Yes, you make that push. You can go out and get a Kyle Lowry, but if you upgrade and get a George Hill, like you're just down, you're degrading a George Hill role that they need. They need that. That's important. Role players are important. You go 7 deep in the playoffs, maybe 8 deep, and to think that George Hill isn't something that can help out that is asinine, in my opinion. Do a Phillies pod. Yeah, where's there an off day? I think Friday there's an off day. So that's tomorrow. Jeez, man, the weeks are flying by. By the way, for anyone wondering, I am going to be on 97.5 The Fanatic this weekend once again. So I will be, let me pull out my calendar here. Yes, look at this thing. And I wish I could I need to intensify the desk calendar because it's getting a little bit overwhelming, but scheduling out the days get a little crazy. All right, so I am going to be on 97.5 The Fanatic this Saturday at 7 o'clock. 7 to 9:50, leading you into Sixers basketball. So I'm super excited about that. And Sunday, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I believe I got Mark Zumoff joining the show on Sunday at 5:10. As of right now, that is the game plan. So, yeah, Saturday, still working on a guest for Saturday, 7 to 9:50 on The Fanatic. And then Sunday, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. on The Fanatic as well. So it's going to be super fun. Make sure you are tuned in for that. So imagine, all right, so Must Process comes back in and says, imagine saying, y'all want Kyle, guy's 35. You would give up your young talent. Stupid. Well, that's because you're worried about what? Tyrese Maxey 5 years from now? Okay, you enjoy that. You enjoy waiting for Tyrese Maxey. You don't, there's a time when you're an NBA team where you are in a mode where you go win that fucking championship. And Tyrese Maxey is going to be a nice player, but not for years. You don't need Tyrese Maxey. You have Ben, you have Joel, you have Tobias. That's fine for a Cleveland Cavaliers, for a Colin Sexton road. That's fine. If you want to be Colin Sexton and have Tyrese Maxey be Colin Sexton and be on it, that's fine. You can be that. That's a Tyrese Maxey right now in his career. A guy that's just going to ball out and be fun, and a De'Aaron Fox on the Sacramento Kings. Tyrese, just go out and play, get a lot of run, go enjoy, run up and down, be explosive. That's what Tyrese Maxey needs right now. When you have a fucking championship caliber ready team, you don't need Tyrese Maxey. Oh, but let's wait for him to grow. 5 years down the road, when you don't know what Embiid is, you got to understand that when you're in it, you're just not accustomed to it. Because it's rare. It's rare to be in this mode. It's not common. It's hard to get here. When you're here, it's time to make a different decision. It's time to have a different mentality. It's time to change your expectations and change what you're going to do. There's times where it's, hey, let's work on prospects. There's times where it's, hey, let's work with draft picks. Let's work with young players. Now there's times where you don't worry about 5 years from now with Tyrese Maxey. You worry about go make a championship type of move. So, and I get not doing it, but not doing it isn't because of Tyrese Maxey. Not doing it is because you value Danny Green and you value what that brings and you value that side of it. It's not because trust me, you're not holding off on Kyle Lowry because it's going to cost you Tyrese Maxey. You're holding out on Kyle Lowry because you value Danny Green and what this team has become and molded into to this point, and that's the difference. That's the difference. That is where I'm at. So anyway, that's where I'm at. That is where I'm at. All right, can we stop with the? I will block that user for now because the cap thing. I don't know why we're doing that. So that person just got muted. So yeah, there you go. That's what we have. We're 1 hour into the show, which means it is officially time. Thank you so much. Today was a great day. Today was a fun day. A lot of action, a lot of things being discussed. And yeah, I'm interested to see how this all plays out. So tomorrow we will react to the trade deadline stuff on Coffee with Brodes. Tonight, we got a lot on the table. We got the NBA trade deadline, as we mentioned. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we're kind of at. So thank you guys all so much for listening today. And I'll see you guys tomorrow and tonight, really early in the morning, 4 a.m. podcast. Going to be great. Lots of Pepsi, lots of coffee. See you guys later.